Welcome back, Virginia Rider fans, to another video. Mark Ritchie with you, and today we're going to take a ride up to Spruce Knob. Wow, what fun. It is a partly cloudy day. Temperatures are in the low 70s. I have a feeling that's going to drop rather significantly because we're going to be riding up to the highest peak in West Virginia, which is 4,868 feet, or 4,863. You know, I did look that up. It is a late March day, so I'm keeping my fingers crossed that there's not going to be any standing snow. Right off the bat, there's still some gravel on the road, some salt, which you don't really want to mess around with on these turns. They're quite sharp. Like I was saying, this is the highest peak in West Virginia. It's about 1,200 feet higher than the highest point on Skyline Drive. And this road's going to get extremely narrow. But for those of you that have never been here, it's a nice adventure getting there. And then there's this awesome kind of like pot of gold at the end of the rainbow prize in a Cracker Jack box, because the view is just going to be out of this world. On a typical day, the rule of thumb is, as you climb, and as fate would have it, I don't know if I'm going to be faster or slower than him. Maybe he's turning left. But as I was saying, when you're climbing, you generally lose 3 degrees for every 1,000 feet. So, depending on how high you are at ground level, when you're checking the weather, you might want to account for that and dress accordingly. Because in most cases, it's not going to be the same at the base as it is the top. And it's usually quite windy. And here we go. No snow removal beyond this point. No trucks except by permit. There is a weather station up at the top, which has a webcam, so I'll leave a link in the description so you can kind of, like in the off-season months, gauge whether or not you're going to be able to get up there. Not that any idiot would venture up here in January, but stranger things have been known to happen. Well, for those of you that have been watching the channel on the last video, I was discussing how difficult of a winter it was, and I've never picked up so many tree limbs in my life. So that's probably no exception here. It is in the middle of a forest, the Monongahela, if I'm pronouncing that right. You don't want to end up in that ditch. going to Grandfather Mountain down in North Carolina off the Parkway, and the attendant was telling us to make sure we kept our speed up, because they usually have about a dozen bikes every year get dropped going around those corners. And I can only imagine on a big old dresser like this, or an Ultra Limited or Road Glide Ultra, what a awful thing that would be, especially if you have a passenger on board. So yeah, I think that last one I actually dropped it down into first, and there's even some you might even have to clutch a little bit even in first gear, depending on how loaded you are. That can be a little unnerving for folks that are flatlanders. So they were calling for precipitation here in about an hour. I went ahead and rolled the dice. Just to kind of, I really don't have a whole lot of faith in websites. They all seem like a copy and paste from another nearby locality. And it's been my experience that oftentimes they're wrong. And I'm not saying to throw caution into the wind, especially if that severe term gets thrown around. That's usually when I pay a little closer attention to it. But there's been too many times where I've sat at home and no weather developed whatsoever. So, and I did say A, I have no idea what the B is. This happens when you focus on your riding, try and speak at the same time on a road like this. There are some potholes, so for the most part there's not a whole lot to see. There's a couple of clearings where you get a nice view, but as a rider you're likely to be focusing on the road and picking them up. And if you have a pillion, she'll be gathering any pictures that you can view after the ride, which is almost like riding it all over again. This is a Friday, late March. There were a couple of cars that... Is that a cat? That had started up the road in front of me, so I don't know if we're going to catch them or if they ended up turning off. There was a pothole right there. There's another one. Here's one. In the interests of disk space, I say that carefully, I'm trying to make this video as short as possible. And since there isn't a whole lot of traffic, there's someone coming the other way. This is very narrow, especially when you have a vehicle that's got a trailer on it. In one of these turns, it's a little bit dicey. So, a few years back, we did a ride with some friends of ours. And we, in one day, went to Reddish Knob and Spruce Knob here. And we called it Knob Ride. Yeah, it was kind of a cool day. Ended up going up two mountains that are known popularly for their views and elevation, and got to experience both of them the same day. We actually took a pair of binoculars, and I had Google mapped, and we're already at the overlook. There's an overlook right here. If there are other Tourons occupying it to where you don't get a unobstructed view, the best is yet to come. But that is quite a spectacular sight to see all of the Allegheny ridges, especially on a clear day. And there, if you look to the right, is the tower next to the weather station. But if you have a compass on your phone, once you get up to where you have an unobstructed view, the direction is 135 degrees, and a couple ridges over on a clear day you should be able to see Reddish Knob from Spruce Knob, and vice versa. So like if you were at Reddish Knob, it would be 315 degrees. Yeah. And that tower by the weather station on a clear day is visible. We just getting here, Wendy and I say we, yeah, we're already at the main drive here. Going over Snowy Mountain Road, if you stop, you can actually see it just to the left of the mountain. And it has cooled off. It was 72 at the Gateway restaurant. So there's people up here. Wendy's indicating 55. And I can definitely feel it. But once we clear these trees, it's about a spectacular view as you're going to see anywhere around. Pillion will have a field day with the camera. Bear in mind, there aren't any facilities here, per se. Wow. There's the weather tower. They have some stovepipe restrooms for any biological transfers. Oh, he's going to pull over. You didn't have to do that. But I'm rather pleased that the road was as clear as it was for late March, and all the trees we've had down. They had to have had some crews out here doing some extensive labor. Wow, 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 wow. Even as cloudy as it is, it's still extremely clear. Highest point in West Virginia. do have some sheltered picnic areas here as well. So we're just going to take a little hike up to the observation tower. It's about a quarter mile. Like I said, temperature is 55 degrees. All these old trees here on Spruce Knob, whose name escapes me. It looks like being on the set of a Harry Potter movie. And I've been coming up here for years, and it was only until last year that I realized, like, the observation tower is just whetting your appetite. And there's another little quarter-mile loop trail that goes around the trees.
You do? Who is it?
So you get a, well, it's not a 360 unobstructed view. It's pretty wide open. You know, I don't know if it's me or what, but every time I go up these steps, it gets harder and harder. Yeah, but I doubt very seriously they would go to all this work and labor and trouble to put this here if the trees were this high. But it's still a good spot to get a picture. So I just wanted to show you that. And like I say, I would come up here for years and this would be the end of it, you know. And then I just happened to, like on a day like this where it's relatively clear, and I see a deck off in the distance in between the trees. So we're approaching what I would call the new pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, and the prize in the Cracker Jack box. Because once we emerge from these trees, it's just gonna be stellar. There's still, I don't know if that's snow on those hills. Look at that, It's hard to whistle when you're out of breath. Like I say, I'm sure glad I brought all this gear with me. Yeah. I'm about 20 miles away. Looks like it might be raining over there. So we're gonna get back to Wendy and head on down. It's amazing, this wilderness, how it's turned into such a playground for motorcyclists. And who'd have thunk back in the day when everyone was either mining coal or logging trees. One of the greatest playgrounds a kid with a bike ever dreamed of turned out to be. Okay. Well, I just want to thank everybody for riding and walking along. I hope this inspires a few of you to come on up here. And the both of you that, like me, haven't done the loop, will give you a reason to come back up here and explore. And hopefully you'll pick a nice clear day for views and come back with some good memories and some good pictures to share. But what a great place to ride. So thanks again everyone for watching, and we'll see you on the next one on Virginia Rider Magazine. Cheers everyone.